Well, hey there, it's Brent Adams with Inside Farm Life, and I am back with another episode of Inside Farm Life, episode 5. And we are in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, where yesterday we cut the new Inside Farm Life theme song with our buddy Whey Jennings, who's the grandson of the great Waylon Jennings and a great artist in his own right. We've got an interview with him here on this episode 5 of the podcast. You can listen to it right here after these messages, or you can go subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Deezer, Audible, and Odyssey. Well, then on this week's show, American Farm Bureau Federation President Zippy Duvall, just up the road in Washington, D.C., looking out for the farmers and ranchers all across this country. He's been touring the country, listening to their concerns and also their hopes for the future of agriculture. And you're going to hear all about that on this week's episode. Then we bring in our buddy Jesse Allen with Market Talk. He's got Mike Zuzolo with Global Commodity Analytics, who just took a central U.S. crop tour, talking about the corn crop in the central part of the U.S. Some parts it looks better than others, and he has his opinions about the USDA estimate, and you're going to want to hear those. Then our buddy, the hot rod farmer, Ray Bohacz, is talking turn signals in this week's Bushels and Cents. And if you're having trouble with your turn signals on your farm equipment or your vehicles, he might have the answer for you. So I hope you give all that a listen. And to recap, Whey Jennings, new theme song, Zippy Duvall, Mike Zuzolo, and turn signals. So I hope you go check all that out. I tell you what, we've had a great week touring Virginia, and we've got a lot coming up the next few weeks as we prepare for Farm Progress, Farm Science Review, Sunbelt Ag Expo, and who knows, we may throw a few other things in there. So I hope you'll stay with us. Hope you also stay with us for the live streams. Got a lot going on with those coming up this coming Tuesday. It's going to be Jerry Bone, the president of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. He's going to be talking about things going on in the beef industry, as well as the upcoming NCBA convention in Nashville, Tennessee, one of our favorite places. So you're not going to want to miss any of that. Well, I tell you what, we would be honored if you would subscribe to the Inside Farm Life podcast. And you can find that at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Deezer, Audible, and Odyssey. Also, you can listen to Farm Life Radio on Live 365 at live365.com or the Live 365 app, where you're spinning classic country music, a little bit of southern rock, a little bit of gospel, a little bit of bluegrass, 24/7. We're also going to be adding some new programming on there coming soon, so be paying attention for that. Also, just a few weeks away from farmlifemedia.com, where we're going to have the podcast, the radio channel. We're going to have videos, a lot of unique content. So make sure you're paying attention for that. And make sure you subscribe to us on Facebook and also YouTube, and be active in those groups. And please do tell a friend about everything we have going on here at Farm Life Media and Inside Farm Life. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to get on out of here. I thank you so much for listening to the show, and I want to present to you this week's episode of Inside Farm Life.
Welcome to Inside Farm Life, your weekly connection to agriculture newsmakers, hot-button industry issues, educational features, and the best in true country music. Now, here's your host, Brent Adams.
Well, welcome to another episode of Inside Farm Life. We thank you for giving us some of your time this week. On this episode, we discuss the state of the agriculture industry with American Farm Bureau Federation President Zippy Duvall, who's been touring the country talking with farmers and ranchers. In our Market Talk report, we hear about Mike Zuzolo's Central Corn Belt tour, and the hot rod farmer Ray Bohacz is talking turn signals in this week's Bushels and Cents. Finally, we take things back to the country with Whey Jennings, who's working on a very special project for Inside Farm Life. We can't wait to tell you all about it, but first, some news. The UN is planning a major summit meeting this fall on world food systems. Experts are in Rome this week for a pre-summit. Gary Crawford has more.
In Rome this week, 3 days of United Nations-sponsored meetings, food and agricultural experts from dozens of countries talking about the overall goal of
building more sustainable, equitable, and resilient food systems.
Deputy Secretary of Agriculture Jewel Brano. She's been leading the U.S. delegation at the meetings, which are aimed at getting organized and ready for the big UN Food Systems Summit in New York this fall. Brano told reporters,
"We've been working with other countries and delegates here in Rome to build coalitions and consensus around shared priorities."
But she says discussions did not set specific standards for climate or food production, not at this meeting.
The Secretary General said that there should be and will be some goals forthcoming. We are not at that point yet at the pre-summit, but I'm sure between pre-summit and summit, we will talk about some specific goals.
The UN Summit on Food Systems will take place late September. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Also this week, the USDA is beginning to survey thousands of farmers about their yield expectations, and we hear about that from Gary Crawford.
For the crops you're growing, what do you think your yields are going to be? That's the main survey question USDA is asking of about 20,000 scientifically selected farmers.
In fact, farmers should already have those forms in their hands through the mail.
And Lance Honig, who runs the crops branch of USDA's Ag Statistics Service, told us
it's a very quick and short survey. I would just strongly encourage anyone, if they haven't already taken the time to fill that out, to please do that.
And he says for producers not heard from in the next day or so,
we're going to start doing follow-up phoning for folks that haven't sent them back to us already and see if we can help things along there by reaching out.
The survey reports from farmers along with satellite data will be what USDA will use for its upcoming highly anticipated forecast for yield and production of crops like corn, soybeans, and cotton. And so
the more of those reports we can get completed and back in, the more accurate the forecast is going to be.
And that forecast comes out August 12th.
And finally this week, how is the beef industry responding after a series of impactful events, and what can be done to improve supply chain resiliency against future occurrences? USDA Radio's Ron Bain has more.
How is the beef supply chain rebounding from the series of black swan events that impacted that industry over the last 2 years?
Beef cattle system responded remarkably well. Cattle prices have been on the rise. Consumer demand is strong.
2020's cattle backlog is nearly cleared. Year over year, cattle prices are already improving and should continue to do so through the second half of 2021 and beyond.
Purdue University economist Jason Lutz and Rabo agri-finance analyst Dustin Ahern with their takes before a House Ag subcommittee Wednesday. Hearing witnesses also testified on what considerations should be made to prevent future supply chain disruptions. One recommendation from the University of Minnesota's Jennifer Vandelight is improved comprehensive cybersecurity measures. As in the food and ag space,
all of these businesses are individually vulnerable to cyber attack. On a broader scale, though, the food system is one of the most interconnected systems within the critical infrastructures.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
And if you want to hear more about the beef industry, we invite you to join us Tuesday, August the 3rd at 2 p.m. Eastern as National Cattlemen's Beef Association President Jerry Bone stops by Inside Farm Life Live on the Farm Life Facebook page and YouTube channel to talk about the state of the industry and the upcoming NCBA convention in Nashville. You can also catch outtakes from that discussion on episode 6 of the Inside Farm Life podcast and radio show beginning Friday, August 9th.
And now, what is your goat saying? That is a pretty sweet shirt you got on there. Did you get that from goatlifeclothing.com? Very humorous and stylish. No, you cannot eat this shirt. I know it looks tasty. goatlifeclothing.com.
Like a championship caliber baseball team, your fungicide has to be tough, and Concept Agritech has the solution many of America's top growers trust. BioAid is an EPA-registered fungicide that delivers an initial contact kill of a wide range of fungal pests and is safe to the user and the environment. To find out more about how BioAid can help you increase your yields and deliver a higher return on investment, visit conceptagritech.com. Concept Agritech, technology where you need it most. Well, next up on Inside Farm Life, our special guest is Zippy Duvall, the president of the American Farm Bureau Federation. He's been traveling the country, hearing from farmers and ranchers about their hopes for the industry and their concerns, and we'll talk about all that as well as Farm Bureau's legislative priorities for the rest of 2021 and beyond. First of all, President Duvall, welcome into Inside Farm Life.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here. I'm in our nation's capital today, working out of my office, so looking forward to our conversation.
Well, it's probably been a nice change of pace. You've been a busy man here, traveling across the country, meeting with Farm Bureau members, and you've heard a lot and seen a lot.
I have been traveling across the country, making sure that our grassroots know that their voice is getting heard and listening to their stories so I can share them here in Washington.
Well, first off, where all have you been?
Well, I've been to Kansas, I've been to Utah, I've been to Arizona, I've been to Idaho. I've been over into Oregon a little bit on the Snake River. And then I've also been to North Carolina, Tennessee. Met with some Alabama farmers up in Tennessee. And so I've been all over the place and got a lot coming up in August.
So what are some of the things that are on the minds of Farm Bureau members?
Talk about what the farmers are talking about. Of course, if you go west, you got to talk about drought and what those farmers are suffering through out there. up in Idaho, we was talking about the potential movement to try to remove 3 dams on the Snake River, where a lot of our agricultural products are barged down to the port, and a lot of our input stuff's barged back up, and what that might do to agriculture. And of course, over in the middle part of the country, we've had flooding, and so it's just kind of been all over the board, and the issues are there are a lot of issues out there that we're facing.
Well, one of the stops you made along the way was Arizona, and in addition to water challenges, you also had the opportunity to hear more about another very important issue, and that is access to workers. What does that situation currently look like for farmers and ranchers out there?
Yeah, hopefully we're going to have an opportunity here during this Congress to find a solution to that. Of course, there's been a bill that come out of the House earlier this year. We feel like there's still some problems with it, and we need to have some adjustments made to it on the Senate side. And we're currently working with senators right now to see if we can make that a bill that would be accessible to all farmers and one that they can afford, but also provides really good jobs for the people that's coming here to work.
Well, I imagine it's been great to get out there on the trail again. I know you've been fully vaccinated since April, and you had your own battle with COVID over the past year. Obviously, no story has been bigger than the pandemic over the past year and a half. From what you've observed, how has COVID-19 changed agriculture?
Well, it's changed it in a lot of ways. We're very appreciative to the help that the administration, previous administration and the current administration and Congress have given agriculture to help us get through this time. But farmers are more sensitive about workplace environment. Never before have we experienced a pandemic where our farm workers may be at risk, and now we're more sensitive to that. And I think we're in a lot better position to make sure that we can manage something like that. And then, of course, we've had some terrible issues through marketing when some of the packing plants shut down, and we had livestock that was backing up on the farms. Just a terrible situation for our farmers. And then with all the bad weather on top of it, it's just been compounded.
I know there were some supply chain issues, and you guys were really at the forefront of trying to help the industry through some of those. Where do you feel like we stand today on those? And what were some of the lessons that were learned there?
I think we learned our lessons on the farm. I think we're prepared for the future. Now we know better how to handle something like that. And hopefully, when you talk about the issues and the hiccups around packing houses or where we harvest our animals, hopefully we've got across that hurdle, and they're more prepared for that. The things that came in view to us is some of the lack in marketing areas, like we need more transparency in the beef market. So that our farmers and ranchers know more about how those prices are derived at. So we're focusing in on those things. I will tell you that a lot of the monies that have been spent out of Washington to help everybody get through COVID has got to come back to Washington, and they're trying to figure out how to pay for that. And we're very concerned about the proposals from this administration in changes in the tax structure.
What, along those lines, what more can be done there?
Well, I think everybody needs to sit up and pay attention, because the proposal is that they may remove stepped up basis from our ability to use that. And if they remove stepped up basis at someone's death and makes capital gains payable at death, it will almost prevent all of our medium to small size farms from being able to turn it over to the next generation. We all know that we may be land rich because it takes a lot of land to farm, but that doesn't mean we're cash rich, cash fluid. And when you leave that to your children, and they take on that tax burden without a lot of cash to pay those taxes, they may have to sell the farm, and that would discontinue that family farming. And we're real concerned about that.
And you're talking about farms that go back 3, 4, 5, 6 generations.
That's exactly right. And And we're working with them now to make sure that that doesn't happen. And we feel like that we have a lot of support on Capitol Hill to help us head that off. But that battle will be won by our members by being engaged and vocal to their representatives here in Congress.
Well, you mentioned earlier the transparency in the cattle markets, and one of the big stories in agriculture over the past couple of weeks has been President Biden's executive order aimed at promoting competition and fairness throughout the economy, including the agricultural sector. First of all, the Biden administration has been in place for roughly 6 months, and U.S. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack has had the opportunity to reacclimate to the position and put key people in place. What has Farm Bureau's working relationship been like with the Biden administration and the current USDA?
Well, I can't say enough good things about Secretary Vilsack. Of course, I was really good friends with Secretary Perdue, and we had a good working relationship. But Secretary Vilsack came here with a lot of experience. I've had 4 years to get to know him and his previous job before he come back to USDA here. He hits the ground running with a complete understanding of the department, what he can and can't do. And I have been very pleased with the line of communication that he and I have had between each other and our staff. So very appreciative of being able to take the seat at the table and communicate our farmers' policies to him on certain issues.
Do you consider President Biden's executive order a win for agriculture?
I think it is a win in the fact that the problems that are facing agriculture has been recognized by the White House, and it will elevate it to a point, and has already elevated it to a point that is calling for us to have conversation around that on Capitol Hill. Had a hearing on beef cattle business and pricing in the Senate, and that probably would never have happened if all this hadn't come about. So bringing the issue up, having the conversation, looking for solutions is the right way to handle things.
Well, I know we've talked before about the need for the livestock market fairness and greater transparency there. And the president's order directs the USDA to change language in the Packers and Stockyards Act that could level the playing field, not only for producers, but smaller packers, which we saw at the height of the pandemic were greatly in need. How will Farm Bureau be engaged during the rulemaking process to ensure that the interests of stakeholders such as the cattlemen and the smaller processors and even consumers be protected?
Yeah, of course, we'll be there making our comments along with all our state farm bureaus too, and we'll be very vocal on how we think that ought to move forward. But to know that they're going to take some money and invest it in small, medium, and regional packing houses and give them an opportunity to maybe afford inspectors being in their operations more and longer and help them cover that cost. All that is a very positive thing. Now, will it totally solve our problems? No, it won't totally solve our problems. But we do want to make sure that farmers and ranchers have a transparent market so that we can understand how these prices are derived, and so that our feeders and our cow-calf guys can reap some of the benefits of the high prices that we see in the grocery store and on the shelf that the packers are making. We just think there's way too much difference in those prices that we need to get to the bottom of it and be able to find out how all stages of the beef industry can survive and thrive. Of course, we can't do without the packers, but they can't do without us. And now they're making record profits, and here we are just trying to get by.
Well, another hot button issue that was addressed by the executive order is the right to repair equipment. And much of today's equipment is driven by software, and the manufacturers don't necessarily sell those software tools to be able to repair something when it breaks, which means that farmers and independent mechanics don't have the ability to address an issue on the spot. And this order urges the Federal Trade Commission to address some of those restrictions. What's the next step here, and where would you like to see this go?
Well, of course, we as farmers would rather find an industry solution and would with the beef industry. But even in this situation, we'd rather find a solution within the industry rather than have legislative action to try to fix it. I will say that the manufacturers are working with us on a memorandum agreement on right to repair, and we're trying to move forward with that in parallel with what the administration is going to try to do. And hopefully we can find an industry fix to that. But our farmers and ranchers pay a lot of money for that equipment, a lot. And they do it so that they can plant, grow, and spray and harvest their crops on time, and make sure that they can work in between the different types of weather and still be successful. And when you roll into the field after you pay that kind of a price for a machine and it doesn't want to work, and you got to wait on somebody from a distance to either get on a computer or come to your farm to fix it, is very difficult. And it's hard for us to accept, especially with the prices that we're having to pay for that equipment. But we totally understand the programs that are owned by the manufacturers, but there's got to be some way that we can work out an agreement where we can be able to choose the people we want to work on our machinery.
Well, aside from the matters covered in the executive order, trade remains a key focus for many in agriculture, and the Biden administration has had some time now to outline its trade priorities. For the best interests of agriculture, what do you believe those priorities should be?
Well, the priorities is tear down those barriers, put us on a level playing field with all the rest of the world, and the American farmer will compete and beat anyone in the world. I'm totally confident of that. You know, there's a lot of things that go along with trade, though. It's infrastructure. You'll probably ask me about the infrastructure bill before it's over with, but our infrastructure, what separates and divides us from the rest of the world, we can deliver it on time. We can deliver quality. We can deliver it anywhere in the world and all they want, just about. So that sets us apart from the rest of the world, and that's why people want that USA stamp on it, and that's why they want American agricultural products. But we got to tear down the barriers and have a level playing field. We had the privilege of having Ambassador Tai, the U.S. Trade Ambassador, visit with our presidents, our Council of Presidents, just last week, and she told us that she wanted to move forward and find ways to continue this agreement with China. It has been very positive for agriculture, and the acceleration of purchases of grains going into China has really helped our farmers and ranchers, and has helped influence the price of our commodities. And that's one of the bright spots right now is the price of the commodities.
Well, from the outset, the Biden administration made it clear that sustainability and climate were going to be a major focus. What do you hope to see accomplished with climate change, sustainability, and carbon sequestration? And how are Farm Bureau members doing their part?
So, we knew that regardless of who won the president's election, that Congress was going to have a conversation about climate. We all joined together 10 years ago and fought that movement back with Don't Cap Our Future. But now it's a different situation. There's more people involved in it. The general public is emotionally attached to climate change and issues and policies. And so, as agriculture, as a leader of one of the largest or the largest general farm organization in the country, we had to try to find some way to lead the conversation because we knew the conversation was going to be had. So we joined up with other groups. It's an alliance. It's a historical alliance. It's made up of groups that we don't totally agree with all the time. They're environmental groups, food groups, agricultural groups, forestry groups, and we found common ground on 3 principles. We developed 40 recommendations that end up going to Congress and actually dominated the conversation about climate change or climate policy when we were speaking about agriculture. And it has been very effective in controlling the conversation on the Senate side and helping them pass through the Growing Climate Solution Act, which passed bipartisanly with 92 votes on it. So we know that this Congress can, with bipartisan support, get some work done. But I'm real proud of the participation that we've had with these other groups to try to lead the conversation so that we made sure that farmers got treated like partners.
Well, I know we talk about this issue, and it's a big issue, a broad issue, kind of hard to get your arms around. How do farmers at the local level cut through all the noise and really understand how they can play their part in all this?
So I'm assuming you're talking about participating in the process of making policy.
Right.
Yes. So, a perfect way to do that is join your county farm bureau. Our policy book comes straight from county farm bureaus, from farmers there, and it talks about every issue that might face us in agriculture. And we need for them to be a participant in helping build our policy. And then we need to be an engaged member and answer the call to action when we know that there's going to be a bill voted on up here in Capitol Hill that affects them each and every day, like taxes. Right now, all of our members and everybody out there that needs to be a member of our organization needs to be calling their senator and their congressman saying, you can't do away with stepped up basis. If you want to maintain the small, medium size or family farm, you got to make sure that we can hold on to that exemption so that we can continue to pass our farms on from generation to generation. And don't let them hand out pennies to us, because there is talk of an exemption, but the exemption is just a delay of the tax that will come someday to some generation. Now, you can go to our website, you can read all about the issues and see the action alerts and participate in this organization that we're working so hard to try to represent our farmers and ranchers across the country.
One other issue I know you and I have talked about quite a bit over the past couple of years has been the waters of the U.S. and the navigable waters protection rule, and all indications are that the Biden administration appears poised to revisit that and revise the definition of what waters of the United States means. I know this hits close to home for the Farm Bureau because you guys worked really closely with the Trump administration on the wording for the current act. And I know the EPA has said that they're going to seek input from ag stakeholders to make sure that they come up with a definition that takes into consideration all interests. But all of this leads me to wonder, will we in our lifetime see this issue largely settled once and for all, or is this widening and tightening of the definition always going to be this political hot potato that puts farmers and ranchers in the middle of an exhausting and frankly expensive battle?
You're exactly right. We feel like we're in a ping pong table being bounced back and forth from one extreme to the other. But I do feel like we have had Administrator Regan with the EPA visit with the Council of Presidents last week. And the way he illustrated his approach was the 2015 definitely had some problems. And the waters of the U.S. rule before that had some problems. And in his opinion, the Trump administration rule has some problems, and he would like to identify the problems in all three and try to blend them together to come up with something. And he is committed. He has verbally committed to us that he will allow farmers and ranchers and stakeholders to have a seat at the table. And so we're looking forward to those conversations. We want to make sure that their ruling will still give us clear rules so that we can provide clean water for our country, and without having to go to very extreme expense through lawyers and consultants to be able to abide by the law. But you're exactly right. We need to find that right rule, and we need to keep it that way and not let from administration to administration beat us back and forth from one side of the table to the other, because it is expensive on our farmers.
Well, you brought up infrastructure earlier. Another recurring issue we continue to keep front and center here is this push for expanded rural broadband. And I know there are a couple of House bills out there that would help further the USDA's Reconnect program, which has made some inroads in providing service to rural communities throughout the country. Still, much work is left to be done there to close that technology gap in rural America.
Yeah, that gap, broadband is not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity, not just for farmers, but for our rural communities. Young people that go to college and get a job, they're not going to come back to their rural community if they don't have broadband. We can't expect our rural communities to grow and thrive with businesses and agricultural farms and ranches expanding without broadband. And we're telling that story all over Capitol Hill. So we want to make sure not only does it come to that rural city or town in our rural areas, We want it to go out and beyond those boundaries to make sure that our farmers have that access. The American people want us to be sensitive to climate. And in climate smart farming practices, we have to have broadband to utilize every piece of machinery and every tool that's in the toolbox to be able to help our country fight the climate change that they all want us to fight. We do the best job of any agriculture in the world. We lead the world in producing less than 10% of emissions, where no one else can match that. We're leading the world, but we can continue to even do more if we can be treated like partners.
What else within that infrastructure bill is Farm Bureau keeping an eye on?
We want to make sure that the dams and locks, the roads and bridges, a lot of secondary roads, so that we can get our commodities out to the market and also get our input materials back to the farm so that we can continue to grow the food and fiber for this country. That is a big piece. And then also, I don't want to forget, I consider research and development dollars as part of infrastructure. With China spending $3 for our one in research and development, shame on us. We should be leading the world in research, and agriculture depends heavily on the research that's going on to keep us on the cutting edge so that we can be more competitive.
One issue that Farm Bureau has kept front and center has been mental health on the farm and in rural America, and through the Stronger Together initiative. How is the organization working to continue to break down that stigma surrounding mental health and treatment and connecting people to the resources they need to address mental health challenges?
We just want to stay out in front of that and make sure that our members are alert and working with our families and our neighbors, and making sure that we tell people it's okay not to be okay. Let's talk about it. I don't know that if you know it, but I lost my wife a year and a half ago, and I went through some very dark days, and you can bottle that stuff inside of you, and I did in the beginning, and it will destroy you mentally. And so once I started talking about it, the pressure, it was like letting the pressure off a pressure cooker, if we all know what one of those used to look like. And then you started to heal from the inside. And it's the same way. The troubles that we're going through in agriculture, and a lot of our farmers are already removed themselves because we spend a lot of time out on the farm and in the barns by ourselves. We need to seek out help, and through our website and our mental health programs, you can find a lot of resources there. But we as members need to treat mental health like we would a disastrous storm that come through the community. If someone's hurting after a storm come through and their fences are torn down and their barns blown down, who shows up? Your neighbor, and you do everything in your power to help them. Mental health is no different. We have to take care of each other. We got a big job to do to feed the world and our country, and we need our farmers healthy to be able to do that.
As we come down the stretch here in 2021 and look to the future, what are some of the key legislative priorities and issues that are on Farm Bureau's radar right now?
Well, we've talked about most of them. It's all about taxes. It's all about waters of the U.S. It's all about infrastructure. Farm Bill's coming up real soon. We'll be putting our Farm Bill study group together real quick, and we'll start talking about how we strengthen our risk management tools in the Farm Bill, how we strengthen Title I, how we grow conservation programs in the Farm Bill. So we're going to be real focused on all those things. But we need not forget, we got farms and ranches out west with drought. We got farms down the Mississippi River that's been flooded out, thousands and thousands of acres of land. And we got to make sure that we find a way to be prepared for that next disaster. It's just not fair to declare a disaster, a farmer lose his crop and potentially lose his farm, and then 18 months or 2 years later, Congress finally decides to help them. If we're going to have disaster help and aid, it needs to come timely, where we can keep people in business and get them on their feet and get that next crop in the ground.
Well, after going virtual in 2021, this would be a good time to get in an early plug for the 103rd American Farm Bureau Federation Convention, which is going to be held January 7th through the 12th in Atlanta. How excited are you for everyone to reconvene in person and do it in your home state?
Hey, I'm real excited. I just hope the weather's good in Atlanta when they come. Last time we was there, it was sleet and snow and no one could get around, but hopefully the weather will be good that week. We've been working on being stronger together, and I think the pandemic helped us be stronger together. We found ways to continue meeting. We found ways to continue to be engaged. We found ways to answer questions and solve problems during the pandemic. But now we're going to grow together. We're coming out of this pandemic. We're going to start growing together so that we can continue to be strong as we come forward. We're planning right now, just a real exciting agenda. Hopefully, we'll be able to maintain the attendance we come off of in the last convention. We're just really looking forward to it. And if anybody wants to come to the hopefully sunny South in January, we hope they will come to Atlanta, Georgia, and enjoy their National American Farm Bureau Convention.
Well, it's such a great time for members to connect and learn and help set the organization's policy agenda for the coming year. For more information about that, make sure you go to fb.org and look under the events tab. And so as we wind down our time here today, I know you're extremely plugged into what farmers and ranchers and others in the agriculture industry are saying. So I want to ask you this. What are the biggest challenges facing American agriculture today?
Biggest challenges facing American agriculture, I would tell you, is labor. We have the resources, we have the land, we have our kids in ag schools coming out with great degrees, and to do that, bring them back home to the farm, we have to expand our businesses, expand our farms, and we can't do that without good labor. And we need a reliable source of labor, and it's time for us to fix that and make sure that the labor that we have can continue to stay here and work in agriculture. And of course, the other thing is what's going to make us one of the problems is keeping our people engaged. A lot of people they get frustrated and just want to throw their hands up in the air and say, I've had enough. I'm not doing it. Watching 24-hour news, I think it's terrible and nothing good's going to happen. I would challenge you that you need to be more engaged today than ever before. Because if we're not engaged, we're going to receive what's sent to us. Let's control the conversation. Let's lead the conversation. And let's make sure that our grassroots and our farmers and ranchers are engaged. And we would love for you to be part of our family, to be engaged with us and making sure that we move the needle and make the future of agriculture positive, not negative.
Well, along those lines, what do you see in terms of ag innovation and cooperation among the many stakeholders in ag that gets you excited about the future of agriculture?
I continue to see precision planting, precision agriculture grow, and all the new ideas that are coming out, whether it be just, spraying an individual weed to conserving water. It's just amazing hearing some of the technologies that are coming. And I just can't wait. Everyone should be excited about what the future holds for American agriculture and our ability to produce for a hungry world.
Well, and before I let you get out of here, what's up on your travel itinerary here for the coming weeks?
Well, I'm leaving Sunday morning early. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to go to my church, but I'm leaving to go to Monterey, California. I will be meeting with all the Western the state presidents out there to talk about the drought and issues that are facing them. And then I'm coming back to Colorado to spend some time there with some farmers and ranchers to end the week up. And then later on in the month, I'll be in the Dakotas for the Farm Fest and Dakota Fest. Look forward to seeing all the farmers up there out looking at machinery and kicking tires like we do best.
Well, it's great to see that stuff coming back, and we can't wait to hit those trails too. And I know we touched on this earlier, but one more time, if folks aren't currently involved in Farm Bureau, why should they be involved, and how can they become involved?
My dad taught me a long time ago, if you want to make a difference in your family's life, your farm and make a difference in your community, then you got to get outside your fence rows. Get out of your tractor. Make part of your budgeting of your time, part of it to get outside your fence row and be part of a organization. I would encourage you that would be Farm Bureau, but be part of an organization where a collective group of voices can actually get something done. One voice in the night might be heard, but a crowd's voice in the night will definitely be heard. Be part of our family, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Well, President Duvall, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the Inside Farm Life to share your passion and to catch us up on these issues. We'd love to have you back in early January to kind of recap 21 and look ahead to 22, and also to give us a more detailed look at what people can expect for the convention.
I look forward to doing that, and I just hope everybody has a good rest of the growing season and an unbelievable harvest. And I just want to say God bless you.
Again, we've been chatting with American Farm Bureau Federation President Zippy Duvall. Gateway Seed Company was founded in 1997 on a simple principle. It doesn't start with the seed, it starts with the farmer. We pride ourselves in doing all we can to understand our customers' farming operations. We take the time to listen to their concerns, then focus on providing a solution to address their specific needs. Gateway Seed offers seed corn with trait packages from Bayer and soybeans with trait packages from Bayer, Corteva, and BASF. To learn more about how Gateway Seed can boost your yields and increase your return on investment, visit gatewayseed.com. Well, next up on the Inside Farm Life, it's time to check in with Jesse Allen for another Market Talk update. And this week, Mike Zuzolo of Global Commodity Analytics discusses the recent crop tour he took to assess the state of the central U.S. corn crop. Jesse.
Well, thank you very much, Brent, and welcome into another Market Talk update for Inside Farm Life. This week, talking with Mike Zuzolo of Global Commodity Analytics. He just ventured out on a central Corn Belt crop tour here this past weekend and got a good look at crops throughout portions of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and parts of Kansas as well. And just in general, here was Mike's thoughts about his crop tour and how he doesn't agree with USDA's yield projections.
Broad brushing it, Jesse, I guess my mindset is that I can't remember a time period where I agree with USDA's crop conditions ratings any more than I do this year. And that's after following them for a better part of 20 years, 25 plus years. And I feel like their crop ratings are spot on this year. So it really calls into question still the national yield of 179.5 in corn and 50.8 in soybeans. Same thing that we talked about last week, but with a lot more knowledge and a lot more in-field understanding under my belt.
One of the areas we're hearing a lot about for good crops is Illinois. Here's what Mike had to say when he crossed over into Illinois from Missouri.
Yeah, and this is really interesting because as soon as we crossed from Hannibal and the Mississippi River on that northern route and got into the state of Illinois, all the way to Sumner and Effingham, Illinois, which is right on I-70, right around there, I think that the record-setting yields are almost assured at this point based upon the samples I looked at, and the size of the ears are just massive this year, and the population numbers, I don't think I've ever seen them as high as they are right now. And so a good solid 1/2 to maybe even a little bit over a half of the state of Illinois in terms of geography, I think is well on its way to a record yield. But in that Sumner, south of Sumner area, as I crossed south of I-70, US 70, that's when things started to really kind of unwind in terms of variability in crop and a lot of maturity issues. 3 different crops essentially being grown right now in the southern part of Illinois. And so while I think Illinois can have a record as a state yield, I think it's quite a ways away from being able to tie that southern half of Illinois to the central and western half.
We also talked about some of the crops that have seen too much rain. Some areas of Missouri are ones where Mike saw some uneven stands and uneven growth in fields. And as we were looking through various pictures, we talked about that and talked about the potential to see some of this crop affected by too much moisture. And here's what Mike had to say.
Yeah, and this is where the heat and the dryness from here on out would be a real negative force. You would think that you would want that crop to dry out at this point, but not from what I saw. You really want the rains to come and the heat to back off, because you've got a one field, the same field, tasseling and also trying to get caught up to the other part of the field. And that was, again, probably about 20% of the fields that I saw in southern Illinois, and probably more like 30 to 35% of the fields that I saw in the whole eastern half of Missouri, because I came back from on the way back west. I went south and went to St. Louis, and then drove up Missouri 61 up to Hannibal and got back on my original track. But this crop mindset, this did not change as far as the pictures and the way the fields looked. And it was very valuable to get out there and look at this picture, for instance, was over an overpass, and you could really get a good idea of what it would look like in a drone. I've had clients, in fact, Jesse, call me this week after seeing this picture and said, I've been flying drones. I'm seeing this in my corn. I'm seeing this in my beans. This is you really captured what was going on in my fields that you really can't see from the roadside.
And again, that's comments with Mike Zuzolo of Global Commodity Analytics after he took a crop tour through the Central Corn Belt here this last weekend. You can hear the full episode from last Wednesday's episode of Market Talk by going online to markettalkag.com and finding us on your favorite streaming sources. This has been another Inside Farm Life Market Talk update from Nashville. I'm Jesse Allen reporting.
Well, as always, you can find Jesse's daily market updates at markettalkag.com. Again, that's markettalkag.com. And you can find him by searching Market Talk on Facebook. He also appears on the American Ag Network, and you can hear him host Your Ag Today, weekday mornings about 6:50 a.m. Eastern on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, Rural Radio, Channel 147. Well, next up on Inside Farm Life, are you having trouble with the turn signals on your vehicles or farm equipment? In this week's installment of Bushels and Cents, our buddy, the hot rod farmer, Ray Bohacz, has some food for thought.
Welcome to Bushels and Cents from Farm Machinery Digest Radio, heard exclusively on Sirius XM Channel 147 Rural Radio. I am your host, Ray Bohacz, the hot rod farmer, and never forget, it is not what you make but what you keep that counts. Many things have changed on vehicles and machinery, but the lowly directional flasher has not been one of them. When activated, the electrical load to illuminate the bulb passes through a wire that is not able to light the bulb but creates heat. This causes a bimetallic element to distort. At a design temperature, the contacts expand and the directionals light. As the heating wire cools, since it is now devoid of current, the bimetallic strip straightens and separates. The heating and cooling cycle is what causes the directionals to blink. Agriculture runs on machinery, profits on reliability. Visit farmmachinerydigest.com, where steel and soil meet.
Well, if you like what you heard there, you can check out all of Ray Bohacz's great multimedia content at farmmachinerydigest.com. You can also hear him host Farm Machinery Digest Radio on SiriusXM Satellite Radio, Rural Radio, Channel 147. It airs each Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern and again on Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern, so I hope you go and give him a listen. Many companies promise increased yields and a higher return on investment, but again and again, results show that one company stands apart from the rest. Concept Agritech delivers innovative concepts utilizing the latest technologies in agronomy, biology, and chemistry to enhance soil and plant health with seed treatment, planter-applied fertilizers, foliar fertilizers, and full-season soil treatment solutions. To find out how to put Concept Agritech to work for you, visit conceptagritech.com. Concept Agritech. Technology where you need it most. Well, next up on Inside Farm Life, we're taking things back to the country with Whey Jennings. We caught up with him this week in Luray, Virginia at the Hazard County Recording Studio inside Cooters, where he recorded the new Inside Farm Life theme song, which you'll be hearing real soon. Whey, welcome into Inside Farm Life.
Hey, how you doing, brother? Good to see you again.
Man, I'm doing real good. First of all, thank you for doing this. This is a real honor to have you leading the show every week.
Yeah, it's a good honor for me, man. I got a farming background, so it's really an honor to do something like this.
So I know a lot of people out on the tour trail and that follow country music know you as the grandson of the late great Waylon Jennings, one of my musical heroes, and I know one of yours as well. But what they don't know is that you kind of came up through agriculture, man. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, about 20 years ago, I went to work on a cotton farm out in West Texas, and I stayed working on that farm for somewhere between 8 and 10 years. And I wasn't a farmer; I was a farm hand. We did everything from plowing the dirt all the way up to the harvest. So it was a really good learning experience for me. It's something I'll never forget, and I loved it, man.
Made you love music more, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's where I got a lot of my rehearsal in, was on the tractor. Yeah.
Any urges to get back and do more of that someday?
Oh, I don't know. I kind of like what I'm doing these days. I love farming. I still talk to my old bosses and everything. Every time I'm out in West Texas, I stop by and see them. But you know, I think I've gotten all the farming in I think I'm going to be doing. But I think this music thing is probably what I'm going to keep doing, yeah.
Well, I, for one, think Whey has made a great choice, and you can hear that in a lot of his newer music, including this one. It's a bluesy number called Gypsy Soul on Inside Farm Life.
If you're looking for some loving, honey, I'll be here for a while. But if you're searching for a husband, girl, you know that just ain't my style. So if you're falling for me, darling, just go ahead and get back up, 'cause I got a couple thousand miles still ain't put on this old pickup truck. Yeah, I'm a gypsy, and I always find my way on down the road. Yeah, I'm a gypsy, music's my love, and the road's the only home I've ever known. So I must spend our time together, not forever, but to win, you'll never know. 'Cause I'm a gypsy, and I'm driven by a gypsy soul. I'm a fly-by-night, Mr. Right Now. So girl, let's not waste the night, 'cause with the morning light, I'll be headed on out of town. Yeah, I'm a gypsy, and where I'm headed, girl, I just don't know. But wherever it may be, it's temporarily home, sweet home. Yeah, I'm a gypsy, music's my love, and the road's the only home I've ever known. Yeah, I'm a gypsy, and I'm driven by a gypsy soul. Yeah, I'm a gypsy, and I'm driven by a gypsy soul. Oh,
We rejoined the conversation with Whey, talking about how his music has evolved over the past couple years and what the difference has been.
Oh, a whole lot of difference. Hell, this last year during the pandemic, I went and got myself some help and got sober and got married, got a newborn baby here. Well, she's 5 months old now, but I keep calling her newborn. But I got all my kids with me, and life's been really good to me here lately, man. It's been awesome.
I love to see it, man. Love to see that smile on your face and going after these shows with a lot of excitement here. Man, the last album, Gypsy Soul, has done really well for you.
Yeah, it's done really good, man. That was one of the best albums I've ever done. There was a lot of songs I wrote a long time ago, and we put it out. And Gypsy Soul talks about a man who runs around and always has to leave, and then will never get married. And then as soon as I put it on an album, I got married. So that's kind of ironic. But yeah, it's been a really good album. It's been doing real good for us, man.
What kind of conversations do you have with people when you go out on the road? Because I'm sure that they come at you with all kinds of stuff, things they're curious about or encouragement for you and so forth.
Well, I've had a lot of good conversations. A lot of them I can't talk about, but, you know, a lot of them I can. A lot of people want to know how it was growing up as Waylon's grandson. And, you know, it was great, honestly. But I love talking to everybody. I mean, I get different questions everywhere I go, but a lot of the same questions, too. But it's really awesome talking about my grandfather and talking about my family and everything we've been through, man. I mean, conversations are always good. So if anybody wants to have one, just come up and talk to me, you know.
And I know that you're so fiercely proud of your grandfather and his legacy, but I've also heard you describe it from your own musical career standpoint as kind of a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it is kind of a blessing and a curse. More of a blessing than a curse, but you know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of hard to break out of a shadow, you know? I mean, I'll never be Waylon Jennings, you know what I mean? But hopefully one day I'll be Whey Jennings. We'll see what happens.
Well, Waylon and some of the others Whey has lost have served as an inspiration for some of his songs, including this one. This is Lead Me Home on Inside Farm Life.
Lord Almighty, won't you open those gates? Bring me home to get out of this place. 'Cause I've been walking lonely for just a little while, and everyone I love's within the clouds. Help me out. I know it ain't Sunday, but someday I will find my way home. Come Monday, I will know which direction I may roam. Then it's etched in stone. Just lead me home. As a little baby, my mama, she cradled me, tried to keep me from the world. But I grew up, yeah, I grew up, and I hope I grew up enough. Lead me home. Lead me home. Help me upon my way. I know you're up there hearing me, and I need a way to make my way. But until that day, just lead me home. If you can hear me, can you hear what I gotta say? 'Cause I ain't seeing clearly, and I may fall upon my face. But until that day, just lead me home. Lead me home. Help me upon my way. I know you're up there hearing me, and I need a way to make my way. So lead me home. Lead me, lead me, lead. Just lead me home.
So, man, you worked really hard on the music throughout the pandemic, and now things are starting to open back up. The tour schedule's starting to open back up, and you guys are picking up dates left and right.
Oh, yeah, man, it's been hectic. We've been doing shows every weekend, anywhere from 2 to 4 shows a weekend, and all over the country. So, yeah, it's been wild. We recorded a new album. It's coming out here in a couple months. It's called If It Wasn't for the Sinning. It's got some songs I wrote before the pandemic, a lot of songs I wrote after the pandemic. And life changed a lot for me after the pandemic, you know what I mean? Because I'm a whole different person nowadays. I don't know if anybody knows about me, but I was kind of a wild one for a lot of years. I did a lot of drinking, a lot of drugging, a lot of women things, you know, and then I kind of stopped dead in my tracks, got married, got my head back on my shoulders. I ain't had a drop to drink or anything else in over a year and a half, and it's really been great. I mean, I feel like it's a whole new life, man. It's really been awesome.
I think it's encouraging to me every time I see you around or see photos of you on Facebook, anywhere else, man. You've got family right there in tow and getting a lot of great family time in.
Oh, I'm having a lot of great family time, man. I'm kind of sad right now. I just sent my daughter back home yesterday. We dropped her off at the airport, but I got her up on stage with me a couple times. She did Hallelujah with me, and I sure miss her, man. I love my daughter with all my heart, and I love all my kids with all my heart. But that was one of the highlights of my career, was having her on stage with me, man. It was awesome.
Does she or any of the others have any kind of inclination to get into the music business?
I think she does, for sure. My son's got a pretty good voice too, but he won't get in front of a stage for nothing. I mean, I can't get him on stage for nothing, but he's really a great guy. He's got a great voice, but you know, everybody's their own worst critic, you know.
Yeah.
But my daughter, I feel like she's got a lot of want to behind her, so we'll see what happens.
How was that for you? Was that something that you took to it easily early in your career, or did that take some warming up for you?
Well, before my career, when I was a little kid, I got on stage with my grandfather a few times, and it was always fun. And when I turned 13, I kind of got up there and froze like a deer in headlights. So I decided I was going to go get a job. So I went and put on a whole bunch of different hats. I mean, everything from working at Taco Bell and Hollywood Video to installing cabinets and working on farms. And it was just, it took my mama getting sick and asking me to do something with music. Because, I mean, I've always sang, like with my mama and at parties and all that good stuff, but I never thought about doing it for a career until my mama got sick and asked me to do it. And I told her I would, so I kept my promise. I tried, and it stuck, so here I am, you know.
Well, today, man, when we see you on stage, on tour, man, you just look so comfortable up there, so natural. What was it you think that finally got you to that point?
Well, probably getting sober and taking them shades off my face, man. For the longest time, I just closed my eyes and sang, you know. But when you open your eyes, you ain't got shades on your face, and you got a clear head. You look out at your audience, and you see how much they're enjoying what you're doing. It makes it a lot easier, you know what I mean? So life has a funny way of showing you where you need to be, and that's where I'm at right now. So,
right. So what's on your bucket list, man? Projects you want to do? Anything you got in mind?
Oh, my bucket list is too big, man. I got a full bucket, man. I got all kinds of stuff I want to do. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do them, but, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I got a lot of good music left in me. I'm going to put out a lot of good albums. I'm going to play with a few of my heroes, you know, and I just want my kids to look at me and be proud of their father, man. That's all I want.
Well, and that's one cool thing. I know there was some over the past that, you got the opportunity to play with because they knew your grandfather, but now there's more people, it seems like, are reaching out to you because of you and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around quite a while now, so everybody's kind of used to me being around, so everybody's gotten a chance to know me, and everybody's more open, more susceptible to me. When I first started my career, it was like, oh, that man is riding on his grandfather's coattails, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But everybody's gotten to know me pretty well, knows I'm in this for the right reasons. So it makes it a lot easier to get to know people.
Right. And that's kind of the one thing about this business, too, though. You can't really put your finger on too many people that you can say are actually riding their family's coattails here. It's a hard business. That almost makes it a little tougher, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It makes it a lot tougher. I mean, but anybody who does this for a living is doing it for the right reasons, because it ain't easy. Yeah. It ain't easy at all. You have your good shows, you have your bad shows. You got any one little piece of the puzzle falls apart, everything falls apart. It's a lot of work that you got to keep at. It ain't just gonna come to you, stick together, and it's just gonna be easy. It ain't that just does not work out like that. But anybody who does this for a living, regardless of how they got here, is working their butts off. I guarantee you that. So.
Absolutely.
So I got nothing but respect for any musician out there doing this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, man, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you doing the song. And we're going to come back here in a few weeks when this song is ready, and we'll talk a bit more about it. And just to give us a sneak peek, tell me about your inspiration when we talked about this and you started writing it. What kind of things came to mind for you?
Well, my life on a farm, man. I mean, I don't know a lot about farming up north or farming around anywhere other than where I farmed. I farmed out in West Texas, and I wrote this song based on my experiences. So it's called That Farm Life, and that's what it's about, my experiences with this farm life, you know what I mean? So hopefully you like it. Hopefully you like it. I've put a lot of thought into it, and I put as much as I could into it, and I'm happy with it, so I'm hoping you're happy with it too.
Well, we can't wait to share that with you in a few weeks, but for now we want to leave you with another song from Whey Jennings' Gypsy Soul album. This is Bad at Being Sad on Inside Farm Life.
I can't look at pictures, and I can't say your name. You're no longer here with us, and there ain't no one to blame. Every day I cry, and at night time too. But you're gone for good this time, and there's not a damn thing I can do. And I'm mad, and I'm sad, and I'm bad at being sad, doing things I don't believe in, just to numb the hurt that I have. And I can't figure out if I need a preacher or a pill, one to numb the pain, but the other one is trained to heal. I'm sad because I miss you, and I'm mad cause I don't know what to do. I'm just bad at being sad, and not too damn good at missing you. I keep my head spinning with 1,000,001 different thoughts, to forget the one thought that completely tears me apart. I wanna take a trip down memory lane and see things that made us laugh, but without you here I can't go there, so I just avoid the past. I'm tired of waiting on time to make it all feel better. I'll never speak to you again, so I'll just write you this letter, pouring out my heart and soul, and thoughts till my
to never be delivered. And I'm mad, and I'm sad, and I'm bad at being sad. Even though I'd known you were leaving, don't make it easier now. I say lots of prayers, but even God can't help me out. 'Cause he's the one that took me to his home above the clouds. I'm not mad, I know he's loving you, but I'm sad 'cause I don't know what to do. I'm just bad at being sad and not too damn good at missing you. Yeah, I'm bad at being sad and not too damn good at missing you.
And that was Whey Jennings with Bad at Being Sad. We want to thank him for joining us this week from the Hazard County Recording Studio at Cooters in Luray, Virginia. And say a special thank you to Ben Crazy Cooter Jones and his sweet wife Alma for their hospitality, and to all the studio musicians who played on the new Inside Farm Life theme song. We can't wait to share that with you soon. In the meantime, you can follow Whey's career at wheyjennings.com. That's WHEY Jennings.com. You can also follow him on his official Facebook page, and that's the one with the blue check mark. Well, friends and neighbors, the clock on the wall says it's time for us to get on out of here. So until next time, it's Brent Adams. Let's meet up here again next week, shall we? And hey, bring along a friend.
You've been listening to Inside Farm Life, a production of Farm Life Media. If you have topic suggestions for future episodes, drop us a line at brent@farmlifemedia.com. And be sure to check out our website, farmlifemedia.com.